Hello, my friends. I am back. Apologies for the terrible lighting, but it is nighttime already, and but I said I would be back today to catch up from not doing an episode yesterday. So had some time this afternoon and got working on some ribbing. Can you even tell? I've got about an inch worth of ribbing. So what I ended up doing is realizing that I had kind of already made the decision about the 2x2 rib, my swatch. I ended my swatch with 2x2 ribbing, and I decided, you know what, let's just go with that. I know that I could do 3x3, but I just decided that I liked how this looked. Here, we can sort of, if I tilt it, you can kind of see. And so why go messing with things? So I had to decide on 2x2 or 3x3. I also had to decide whether I was going to do it just in the round or if I was going to just split hem. And I decided, as I get a little lazy, that I was just going to do a round and a round. So I've done about an inch, and I'm going to do 3 more inches of ribbing of the 2x2. And I also decided I'm going to do about 4 inches of that ribbing. When I laid the sweater out flat and measured from the underarm, I had about 11 inches of stockinette. So I decided that with 4 inches of ribbing, that'll give me 15, and that should be great. So those are the things I had to decide about the hem of the sweater. And I also had to figure out how much, how many stitches that skein that I carefully marked the beginning stitch and then to the end, counted the number of rows and everything. And so I've got, this is my scribbled on pattern where I've made changes already. But I did some calculations and I figured out that one skein, I'm knitting around and around on 264 stitches. And I was able to do about 66 rounds. They didn't end exactly where they started. And I decided to be just a little conservative. I think it was closer to 67, but so we call it 66 to be safe. That gave me 17,424 stitches. And that's a handy number to know. Because then I could figure out if 17,424 stitches in 270 yards, that means I'm getting 64.5 stitches per yard, or each stitch is about 0.015 yards. And that is a super helpful number. I will use that later to calculate the yarn quantity needed for each size. So I basically calculate, and I always round up a little, I calculate the number of stitches in a sweater. If you are a Nenny Swemo person, or where you're gonna knit 40,000 stitches, like somebody's gonna write 40,000 words for a novel, you need to kind of know how many stitches are gonna be in your sweater. So I do some basic math and calculate how many stitches each size produces, and then I can use that 0.015 yards per stitch to calculate the yardage for the pattern. And then I round up, and because everybody's gauge is a little different and you want to have a swatch, but I try not to round up too much. I don't want you to end up buying way too much yarn. So that number, those numbers are helpful. And then that information of how many stitches I could get out of one skein, with some other math. Let's see, where did I put it? It's on a separate page. So I was able to figure out there, I've got approximately how many stitches will be in my hem, which will be 7,920. My collar is going to have 1,180 stitches because I plan to do an inch worth of stitches, an inch worth of rounds, and then bind off. And so an inch, I'm getting about 7 rows to the inch. And then your bind off takes more yarn than a regular row or round. So I've decided my calculations are based on 10 rounds. So that's where I get the 1,180 stitches for the collar. And then I did sort of a wacky thing for the sleeves. I added the top of the sleeve number to the cuff number. So that's it's actually, it should be 90. In this instance, I did 80 plus 48, but I neglected, it should be 90. So anyway, I'll walk you through what I did here, and then I'm going to have to do it a little differently. So I added 80 plus 48. That gives me 128 stitches. And then I took the number of stitches I got from that skein, that 17,424 number, divide that by 128, and that gives me 136.125, which is the number of rounds. And I divided that by 7. Do I have all this right? Anyway, it gets me about a 19 and a half inches of sleeve length that I can get out of one skein. So what I'm planning to do is once I finish the hem, I'm going to set aside that skein, and I'm going to start with the new skein, with a blank skein that hasn't been touched at all, and knit my sleeves and see if I get to about 19 inches. I think I've done that right. So what I did was I basically I turned the sleeves so that one is upside down and added them all together. So they basically form more like a rectangle rather than the two trapezoids. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting all of my geometry terms, but you know, parallel top and bottom and at an angle. I think that is a trapezoid. So rather than a trapezoid, I've kind of mashed it into a rectangle or a tube. In terms of my calculations, obviously I will knit them properly, but I think I've done it correctly, so that means that I should be able to get about 19-inch sleeves, which is almost as much as I would like. I have long arms, so I probably will go with maybe 20 or 21, and I kind of want the sleeves to be long on this, just for like coziness. So, and I still will have a bit of time before I get close to a point where I might want to throw in that, the flower motif, possibly near the cuff, but I might want to switch to ribbing. I might want the cuffs to have long ribbing. I'm not sure yet. So that's what's happening now. For the next bit, I'm going to be doing a lot of ribbing, probably another day or so, because I actually have work to do like during the day. But it's coming along, and I'm excited to see what happens next. So that's it from me for today. I will be back tomorrow, probably to complain about ribbing because it's not nearly as fast as stockinette. Hope your knitting is going well. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.